Half a day. The Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture is now called to order. Today is Thursday, March 11th. The time is 9:09 a.m. Notices for this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Thursday, March 4th, and again on Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. The notice was also published in the Guam Daily Post on those same days. The Zoom meeting is hosted by the legislators' MIS staff, and they will mute all Zoom participants until called upon by the chair. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized, and please state your name for record-keeping purposes when you speak. We have two agenda items for our 9 a.m. hearing. The first is Bill 58-36, which is relative to extending the deadline for the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency to develop a functioning customs satellite inspection, holding, and secured sterile facility area. And the second agenda item is Bill number 62, which is relative to penalties and restitution for theft of livestock or agricultural products. These bills will be more fully introduced shortly. So I'd like to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues, beginning with our minority leaders, Senator James Moylan, Senator Clint Rigel, Senator Joanne Brown, Senator Senator Chris Duenas. Thank you very much for being here this morning. And all right, so I will first ask Senator Moylan to introduce the bill. Senator Moylan, are you able to read the full title?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity for the introduction of Bill number 5836.
Yes. I'm sorry, Senator Moylan. Senator Joseph Augustine is also present with us today. I want to acknowledge his presence. Okay, my apologies. Okay. Please proceed.
Thank you and good morning. Bill number 5836 as core. It's introduced by myself along with Senator Tony Atta, Senator Christopher Duenas, and Senator Talina Nelson. This bill is an act to amend Section 2B of Public Law 34112. It's relative to extending the deadline for the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency to develop a functioning customs satellite inspection, holding, and secure sterile facility area. Madam Speaker, this bill is an amendment to the Public Law 35112, which granted 4-acre portion of parcel in PD to the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agency to develop their customs satellite inspection, holding, and secured sterile facility area. The original bill provided 3 years to have this facility functional and ready to go. Otherwise, it will be reverted back to the government of Guam. Back in 2018, since 2018, there has been no facility present, and neither was there development in the pipeline if this does not happen. And this will be expiring here in July. If we don't have this extended, then the property reverts back to the government of Guam. And we know this is an important function for the Guam Customs Authority to provide this service, this X-ray machine, to help protect our island from our economy, from our invasive species, most especially, and also to fight from the drug epidemic by identifying and X-raying these containers by the Guam Customs Authority. So what the bill is basically doing is providing an extension for an additional 5 years to allow the Guam Customs to perform and to get their requirements ready and to build a facility. So I thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity for this public hearing, and I look forward to a discussion on the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have with us today the directors of the Port Authority of Guam, the former Senator Rory Respicio. We also have with us today the Customs Director, the Director of Customs and Quarantine Agency, Mr. Ike Pareto. So we will begin with the Port Authority of Guam directors, former Senator Rory Respicio.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, to you and your colleagues. I'm Rory Respicio, General Manager of the Port Authority of Guam, and I'm submitting this testimony in my official capacity as GM of the port. I did submit written testimony yesterday, and I know that you made that available to your colleagues. I could, if it's possible, I could summarize it in the interest of time. Like you, we don't want to keep the farmers waiting for another important bill. But we are here to support Bill 58-36. We want to thank the sponsors, Senator Moylan, Senator Ada, Senator Duenas, and our Port Oversight Chair, Senator Tina Cruz Nelson, for sponsoring this bill. The sponsor generally recognized the bill's intent, and we're in full agreement. But I just want to memorialize for the record what has happened since the time the bill passed. And what has happened since the time the bill passed in July of 2018, we recognize that this was still an ongoing matter during the Leon Guerrero Tenorio Transition Committee's process, and that transition report made a commitment that the property will be mutually identified and agreed to by both the Port Authority and Customs. And within 30 days, that announcement was made by Governor Leon Guerrero on February 5th of 2019. And so since then, the governor and lieutenant governor advocated for the Port Authority to receive a $1.6 million grant from Mr. Gary Corbarra. He is the Western Regional Office Director, Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. And this is formally known to all of us as the Office of Economic Adjustment. And in that 2020 Master Plan update, the governor, together with our board, instructed us to provide a feasibility study by working with Customs on the Customs Container Inspection Facility. And so this, Madam Speaker and colleagues, is a component of the Port Authority Guam's 2020 Master Plan. Since that grant was approved on September 5th, 2019, we immediately reached out to Customs Director Ike Pareto and his team. We've been having weekly meetings together with our WSP, who is the Port Authority's owner, agent, engineer. And this meeting has been very productive. And there's actually a feasibility study that's been submitted to Customs. Once they approve the site location, the operational workflow, all of these things, although funded by the Port Authority through that OAA grant, the decision, the processes were all decided by Customs. And that's really important to note, that it's not the Port Authority that's deciding for Customs what their mandates ought to be. It's really driven by Customs, and we're making it part of the 2020 Master Plan update because what happens with this container inspection facility will have an adverse effect to port operations, so they have to have some kind of seamless flow. And once Director Pareto received this draft feasibility study, he's been working with the Guam State Clearinghouse and the Bureau of Statistics and Plans to find funding opportunities for the design and construction of the facility. Madam Speaker, we're going to submit to you also a memorandum dated April 2nd, 2019, from the Port to Customs from Acting Director, Department of Land Management, seeking the Port's review and approval of the survey and mapping of the 4-acre portion of Parcel 1-3 for the proposed Guam Customs Satellite Inspection holding and sterile facility area within the Port Authority compound. We're also submitting the letter dated April 5th, 2019 to Customs Director Pareto from the Port, providing the signed MOU prepared by Land Management and seeking their approval on the final survey map for this lot pursuant to Public Law 34-112. We're also submitting a signed MOU between the Port Authority and Customs, and the Port signed this MOU on April 5th, 2019, and Customs signed this on April 8, 2019. And finally, the land management survey and mapping of the 4-acre portion of this parcel for the proposed facility within the Port Authority compound. And this instrument was recorded as reporting number 933800, filed with Department of Land Management on April 11, 2019. And so we're providing you and your senatorial colleagues with a draft feasibility study as well as this facility's proposed layout. And please note that the feasibility study is complete. However, it is still labeled draft because it's a component of the Port Authority's 2020 Master Plan. The Port Authority's 2020 Master Plan update will still have to be approved by the Port Board, the Legislature, PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, and the Governor. However, since Customs needs this feasibility study to secure funding opportunities for the Customs Satellite Inspection, Holding, and Secured Sterile Facility area, I authorize releasing this feasibility study, albeit in draft form, in order to move this critical project to completion. And we understand that your oversight of this matter pertains to land, and that the legislative oversight responsibility over our island's border protection rests with Senator Nelson. And we thoroughly covered the Port Authority's 2020 Master Plan update, including the details of this facility during that legislative informational hearing held on January 25th, 2021. So Madam Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Senator Moreland, thank you for allowing for another 5-year extension. And we're available to answer any questions or concerns you may have to this issue or any other issue. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, General Manager Respicio, for updating us on what has transpired since the original bill until today. I appreciate that's very helpful and thorough. And I'd like to, as I said earlier, we have with us the Customs and Quarantine Director, Mr. Ike Pareto. We also have with us Chief Vincent Perez from Customs and Quarantine. Director Pareto, would you like to testify? Thank you. There you go.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, Terlaje, and members of this committee. My name is Ike Pareto, and I am the Director of the Customs and Quarantine Agency. Before we begin, I'd like to thank each of you for the opportunity to testify in support of Bill 58-36. The Customs and Quarantine Agency is Guam's first line of defense. The mission is to protect our island, its people, and resources while facilitating trade, commerce, and travel. We enforce local and federal laws, securing borders and protecting all ports of entry, ensuring the physical, social, and economic security of Guam. On July 17, 2018, Public Law 34-112 was enacted to provide customs with administrative jurisdiction of a 4-acre parcel of land at the port for the purpose of developing and constructing a customs satellite inspection, holding, and secured sterile facility to operate by and for use by customs, the port, and the people of Guam. Under Section 2 of Public Law 34-112, it mentioned that if the property is not developed in a functioning customs inspection facility within 3 years, administrative jurisdiction by CQA shall expire and the property shall revert to the general jurisdiction of the government of Guam. Bill 58-36 seeks to provide the needed extension for CQA to complete this project. The extension is necessary for customs in order to complete the inspection facility, to which will ensure that cargo, freight, and containers are properly secured and inspections can be properly carried out in one designated place, away from residential and commercial areas. Once in full operation, the facility will aid in customs efforts to identify and interdict contraband, such as illegal drugs, aid in the combat of terrorism and its implements, identification of prohibited or highly regulated imports, identification and mitigation of invasive species, and biosecurity threats to Guam, the United States, and the region. The facility will be designed to provide all the requirements necessary to establish the Guam Customs and Quarantine Biosecurity Division, authorized under Guam Public Law 31-43, Section 6. The requirements includes activities associated with identification and acquisition of property, permitting, construction of the facility to fulfill the functions of the Customs Biosecurity Division inspection facility. In addition to housing customs-centric inspection equipment for inspection purposes, this facility proposes to have space available for the following federal entities, and that includes Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Plant Protection and Quarantine, the U.S. Coast Guard, and other law enforcement agencies. This facility will enhance greater enforcement and collaboration in our efforts to protect our island. Moreover, the facility will be an asset for the government of Guam and strengthen local and federal agency efforts as one-stop border crossing collaborative center for imports. Currently, CQA is in the planning and development stage of building the customs inspection facility on the property. On July 2020, CQA, in collaboration with the Port Authority of Guam and their consultant WSP, initiated a Guam Customs Inspection Facility feasibility study to update 2013 PAG Master Plan in line with customs requirements and functionality needs of the future facility. On August 2020, the Department of Public Works Engineering Division provided Customs with
We're resuming our public hearing on Bill number 58 after an broadcasting interruption. So we will resume with Director Pareto from Customs and Quarantine's testimony. Please proceed, Director.
This facility will enhance greater enforcement and collaboration in our joint efforts to protect our island. Moreover, the facility will be an asset for the government of Guam and strengthen local and federal agencies' efforts as one-stop border crossing collaborative center imports. Currently, CQA is in the planning and development stage of building the customs inspection facility on the property. On July 2020, Customs, in collaboration with the Port Authority of Guam and their consultant, WSP, initiated a Guam Customs Inspection Facility feasibility study to update the 2013 PAG Master Plan in line with customs requirements and functionality needs of future facility. On August 2020, the Department of Public Works Engineering Division provided Customs with a two-story draft building design incorporating and building dimensions, inspection area, container bay, holding and securing facility, and office space with a proposed cost estimate of about $10 million. On December 2020, WSP presented CQA their completed feasibility study and conceptual designs based on CQA needs and security requirements. And finally, on January 2021, Customs submitted a needs assessment to the Guam State Clearinghouse requesting assistance in locating federal grants and other funding mechanisms programs for A&E and construction costs. In closing, I would like to thank the committee for the opportunity to testify before you today and kindly urge members of the legislature to support Bill 58-36 in our quest towards protecting our island, our people, and our resources. If you have any questions regarding this testimony, I will be pleased to answer them accordingly. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Director Pareto. Chief Perez, would you like to testify as well? You're on mute still.
Yes, ma'am. Am I queued now to go ahead?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Vincent Perez, and I am the Chief of Customs. So good morning, Madam Speaker Terlaje, Senator Moylan, and esteemed members of this committee. I am here to reiterate and also provide support for this bill. I'd like to reiterate the director's testimony, and there may be some parts that just to emphasize the importance of where we're at, because the timeline on the property, we were impacted a lot with things like COVID-19 and social distancing and people staying home, essential workers coming to work. So, of course, on July 17, 2018, the law provided Customs with the jurisdiction, administrative jurisdiction of a 4-acre parcel, right? So we were under the understanding that we'd be able to start doing a lot of work and get from where we were at to a point where we have a fully functioning customs satellite inspection station. And of course, the provisions of the law says we're giving you guys 3 years to be able to do this. We've gotten to a point, and I like to just reiterate that we've gotten to a point where we're in the middle of the process. And if we hit that deadline, I believe it's in June, July of this year, we're concerned that it's just going to revert back. And so in line with the public hearing this morning, I'd just like to reiterate that we need this extension. I don't think we're going to take the entire amount of time to build it, because we're already at the point where we've got a design. We've already met with a lot of the stakeholders. We've cleared the property to a certain extent. We've had the initial points set up. And we're at a point where we're gaining traction. And so the director mentioned that it looks like it may cost around $10 million. And so we're at the point where we're trying to get to having an A&E design. And then from there, all the costings and everything, we'll be able to identify and apply for grants and hopefully obtain some whatever funding we can get. So I just want to point out that we have moved forward and are continuing to move forward with this project. And the biggest concern that we have is that we will not be able to meet the deadline established by the law. And because of the pandemic, many of the process in moving forward were impacted because of CDC requirements and public health requirements. Still, we've made much progress with the negative impacts and the social distancing and COVID-19 restrictions. Like I said, the property was cleared. We've been meeting with the stakeholders. We've been working with Public Works, the Port Authority, and we're at a stage where the design is done, and we just want to make sure that we move forward. So the port will finally. So look at it this way: out of all the customs jurisdictions in the world, right, Guam Customs will finally have a facility at the point where the port of entry is established. And we no longer will have to worry about concerns that there's no space in order to do much more closer scrutiny of items, because we don't have any real area down at the port in which we can isolate, segregate, pull out freight, identify what we need to identify as far as regulatory or enforcement concerns. So once we get this facility, we're a whole lot closer to the becoming the customs entity that we know that we can be. Obviously, we have challenges, but keep in mind that we are a fairly young entity. We were born around 1952, if I'm not mistaken. And the United States Customs and Border Protection has over 200 plus years of experience and in processes. So some of the things that we do is that, of course, we want to make sure that we protect the nation, the homeland, but most especially our island, our people, and our resources. So just to reiterate, I'm just going to make this short. We need this extension, and I support this bill, and you can understand that this will greatly positively impact the people of Guam and the economy, because we'd be able to capture more of everything, including being able to assess more use tax and getting all the bad things out of the economy and from the people, and bringing in the stuff that we need. So in closing, I'd like to thank the committee for this opportunity to testify, and I hope you have a favorable response. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief. And so for Customs, my only question is really, so this bill, of course, the original bill already recognized the importance of the structure, the infrastructure, its location, everything, and worked out, and I'm glad to see everything's been worked out between the two agencies. And So my only question really is, so this bill is just going to extend this time for you to complete this project, and it's extending it for 5 more years. So is the 5 years adequate? Is this going to be done within that 5 years?
If the director is willing, yes, I believe that's probably more than enough time. It's just that when you undertake a project and you don't know how long the project's going to take, and then you start running into these little milestones and you run into impacts because of permitting or other little issues, and they just extend and extend, but you keep trying, then you realize that you're going to need a little bit more time. And so now we went back and we're looking at the bill and saying, the law. And so I believe that the amount of time that is placed in this bill as an extension is appropriate.
Okay, so that would make it a total of 8 years from when the original law was passed, 5 years from now, and we are expecting a functioning customs satellite inspection, holding, and secured sterile facility area. I just want to put that on the record. And depending on what funding source that you are able to come up with to put this into reality, do you expect to be paying rent to the Port Authority of Guam for this property or to any other government of Guam entity?
No.
All right. Okay. Senator Moylan, do you have any questions for this panel?
No questions, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Senator Duenas.
Tudus Masi, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank the sponsor for allowing me to co-sponsor this bill, 5836. And I appreciate, of course, the presence this morning of the General Manager, Roy Respicio of the Port, as well as Director Ike Paredo, as well as Chief Perez. And thank you for being supportive. As you mentioned, Madam Speaker, I'm sure most of the testimony in the original bill to set aside this land enumerated the reasons and the importance behind this. But I just want to bring up 2 additional things. As a senator in the 31st Guam legislature, I was the author of the Guam Invasive Species Council. And that bill actually envisioned something exactly like this: a place where all entities can come together and truly be together at the front line at the border. None of us will ever argue that Customs and Quarantine is border protection. They are the lead and they hold the border. But the fact of the matter is for invasive species and other things that can come in, they should have agriculture right next to them. And I'm so glad that Director Paredo mentioned this morning that it would be other federal entities as well. This was the dream, for this bill, the culmination of this. So I just want to move forward and ask the indulgence of particularly Director Paredo. And I know that we're going to have a hearing on another bill which involves agriculture. But could you please schedule at the next meeting of the Guam Invasive Species Council to bring this up and to discuss how, as this vision moves forward, you will work together and get the buy-in from the Guam Invasive Species Council for this very, very important project for the people of Guam. Like I said, once again, if there's anything that's accomplished that the Guam Invasive Species Council can hang its hat on and say it's accomplished something, it will be this project, guys, because that's truly, your partnership at the border. And I look forward to this dream becoming a reality. So with that, I also wanted to say, Madam Speaker, I'll mention this in the next hearing as well. I have penned a letter to the Agriculture Director to get an update on all matters involving the Guam Invasive Species Council. And while I know that funding source, should always be used for every frontline opportunity that exists, but Director Paredo, I think you may want to work with them to at least get some buy-in, because there's a fee associated with the inspection fee on invasive species as well at the port. And I think it would be appropriate for a certain amount of set aside to match any grants you would be applying for this, to show Guam's buy-in and to solidify this plan to make sure it has the resources behind it. As the author of that bill, I think that is a very appropriate use of some of those resources. So I ask you once again to please consider that as well and bring it up at the next meeting of the Guam Invasive Species Council. Sidus Masi, Madam Speaker, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to put that on the record.
All right. Thank you, Senator Duenas. Senator Rangel, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Brown, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I certainly recall when Senator Tom Atta introduced the original bill to put aside the 5-year timeline with the desire certainly that Customs would facilitate moving forward with the construction of the facility, because it was Customs that, knocked on the door essentially to want to have this property dedicated for this purpose. I think we'd appreciate the challenges we've gone through in the past year, but I did want to get further clarification from the Director of Customs with regards to, it was elaborated earlier what steps have been taken so far with regards to addressing all the initial groundwork that would be needed to facilitate moving a building forward, but also we mentioned up to $10 or $11 million that it may cost to actually construct the facility. So what other options are we looking at to actually address the actual full construction of the facility? I mean, grants are nice, but I don't know if we're going to be looking at grants in that amount that are going to pay for the facility. So what is being looked at to actually address the funding that's going to be needed to put the facility in place?
Thank you for that question, Senator. I've met with the governor and advised the governor of the current situation and where we're at with this project. And the governor assured me that they will also be looking into other funding mechanism that will assist the agency in moving this project forward. And so I'm working with not only the clearinghouse, but with the administration in trying to identify the needed funds to move this project. And that's
Are there any potential sources? I mean, I know that's a general response, but is there anything specific that can be looked at? Because 5 years comes and goes very quickly. I think we certainly want to see this project after all these years move forward. Is there any specific that's being looked at? I mean, you can't begin the groundwork if you don't have some idea of what we're looking at. Generally, you go out, you finance, you get the money in place, and then you move forward with construction. So, I appreciate all the preliminary work that has been done, but do we have anything a little more concrete, so to speak, so that we have some assurance actually that, while you have all your preliminary work and grants and other things, and the Port IC has assisted with some of that, but do we have anything more formal that can help actually address the construction of the facility?
Not at this time, Senator. The only thing is that we're also working with GIDA in trying to look into the funding source for this project at this time. And that's all I have. Is
there, I mean, even out of your current, I know there, in our recent visit that we had with you a couple of weeks ago, I mean, you did express the challenges you're currently going through now just because of the pandemic and the impact to your budget. But are there any sources? I mean, if GIDA is going to look at financing, they have to have money to finance it with. So nothing specific beyond that?
Nothing. I have no information so far as that.
I hope you keep us apprised, because I don't think we're going to get to the end of the road if that's not something that's put in place. I mean, that's something certainly for those of us that are engaged in this hearing this morning certainly will be mindful of and keeping an eye out on it as well. And I hope that once you have identified or worked with the respective parties in your administration, that we can get a sense of where that's going, because I just fear we're going to be back on a different track and not a productive one if we're not able to get a funding source, because normally that's the process. We identify the funding, we get it, and then we move forward with construction. One of the other things I appreciate Senator Duenas elaborating on the issues with invasive species, because that's something that has continued to be a problem and continued to grow. When the plant protection and quarantine was taken out of the Guam Department of Agriculture and put into Customs, Customs assumed that duty. And while we understand a number of your officers were trained to do those type of inspections, as time went on, we still continue to see the increase in proliferation of invasive species on Guam. So I appreciate his input and in working with Invasive Species Committee and Department of Agriculture. I know who's online here because of the other bill that's coming up this morning. But I think we'd like to see what comprehensive steps can be taken, because Customs took that funding, but I fear that money ends up getting diluted, because you also have so many other responsibilities with regards to the inspections that need to be done by your officers that, I'm a little concerned. I think a number of people have been over time, that's just a lot on one plate. So I'm curious to find out, as you guys work through this process, as agriculture is wanting to take or should take a bigger portion of that as well. to be engaged in the inspection. And that's something I'd like to see included in this facility, because the adverse impact to our community, to our farming community, to our quality of life, as we've seen with the rhino beetle that has proliferated now throughout the island, and other types, the ants that have now become a problem throughout the island as well. I mean, the list goes on, the aphids and the other things that are invading not just our agricultural plant base, but our decorative plant base that we have around the island. So I hope next time probably we get into more details with regards to this facility, that you're working with your respective partners there, so we can have a comprehensive plan and resources that we can see going into the operations of this facility, to ensure that the agricultural side of it is just as present and engaged. Because I don't think the delusion of that inspection responsibility to customs has helped either part. I don't think it's helped your officers do what they need to do with regards to invasives. And I think I've seen an erosion of agriculture's engagement with that, which I think they have a lot more invested in wanting to ensure that those level of inspections are occurring. So just putting that on the table to include in your view, not just in the physical structure of the building, but the actual operations and how you can ensure that that's a critical part of that operation. With that, Madam Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity to ask a question and comment on this matter. Thank you.
Senator Brown. Senator Taitigui, you are recognized, and then Senator Sinarsti.
Madam Chair, for the opportunity, and thank you to those who are here to testify this morning. I do have a question with regards to the Port Authority of Guam on what role does the Port Authority of Guam have with respect to the development and maintenance of the satellite inspection holding its facility area, secure sterile facility area?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Can I answer? Yeah, thank you for the question, Senator Taitigui. And so this 4 acres that's been identified, it's been deeded to the Customs and Quarantine. The port will not be a landlord to this property, therefore it will not be responsible for maintaining this property. But the Port Authority does play a role in a sense that we continue to support those that are mandated to inspect these containers. And we want to make sure that as we're discharging vessels, that it's not going to backlog vessel operations. This is why we're working closely with Customs so that there's a seamless flow and the container goes from the vessel to the chassis, still within a sterile environment, goes to the Customs inspection facility. But prior to that, we're also working with Customs and the Port Users Group to have an IT integrator, to have a port community portal, which will be maintained by the port. And the carriers and Customs and the port will be able to integrate the IT. So we can have searchable bill of ladings. We can have the digital manifest, which is Senator Torres's law. We can make sure that we're capturing on all the use taxes that are coming to the island to assist Customs. And this also is a potential funding source. And I want to say that when the port and our consultants, WSP, reached out to Customs, we had this initial meeting, and all of the things, Senator Brown, thank you for your concerns and your comments. All of the things that you and Senator Duenas brought up is in this draft Customs inspection feasibility study. Customs is looking at all those potential revenue streams to include the biosecurities revenue streams. Senator Duenas, I know that they've talked about that. They've reached out to their federal partners, Customs and Border Protection. Maybe they may want to be housed in this container inspection facility, and the rent that they're paying somewhere else could be securitized to flow into this operation. They're also going to stand up a canine unit, and they're exploring federal funds to shore up our border. And so this is a comprehensive approach, and you're going to see that there's coordinated efforts between the port, between Customs, between the administration. The governor herself, during the transition period, talked about having a searchable bill of ladings, and the idea that port has to assist Customs in its mandate to inspect these containers. But to answer your question, the property will not be owned by the port, Speaker. They're not going to pay the port any rent. The port is giving up valuable, as Senator Brown knows, as former general manager, the port's giving up valuable acreage, 4 acres of property, which is still within the terminal yard, but it's also right before you get to the weight scale house. And so when we talked about what needs to be done to connect the port terminal yard to the container inspection facility, there's this sliver of road that the port committed to figuring out, maybe with the Office of Highway Safety or some other grantor agency, to figure out how the port can pay for that sliver of road to connect the 2 facilities. And so there is a coordinated effort. It's a massive undertaking. The public law, as we all know, is an unfunded mandate. This bill, while very critical, because Senator Moreland, you're going to buy us 5 more years to do this. We all have to just work together. And there's also that $661 million that the governor talked about. She mentioned this in her State of Ireland speech. So there is funding opportunity, and we are not only confident but hopeful. The Attorney General's office is already talking about this opioid national settlement, and Customs and the port and AG is having, and the governor, we're all having preliminary discussions on how this revenue stream can trickle down to support Customs. And so just want to give you hope that there's things in the pipeline to make this idea, and it's very feasible.
Thank you so much, Director Respicio, for that. And additional information that you're providing us to as well, to keep in mind what's happening down the line. But I think Director Pareto was very quick into answering that. No, he's not going to be paying for this property. Straight out, nope. I appreciate that, Director Pareto. And I know you definitely will make sure that they're not going to be sneaking any kind of monthly payments or any dues or anything.
So, Senator, the law will not allow us to charge any rent. So.
That's good. That's good to hear. And I'm sure Director Pareto is appreciative of that. You never know. The law can be changed, as you well know. Director Respicio. So moving on, it's 5 years, additional 5 years. Is there a reason why you want 5 years instead of maybe 3 years, being more aggressive to the project itself? And if, putting more of a contingent timeline to 3 years. Director Pareto, do you see maybe it being accomplished in 3 years?
Well, the goal is 5 years is adequate for us to move forward with this project, and hopefully that we can attain that objective. But I'm satisfied with 5 years. But I think we can move forward and make sure that we build this facility within that time frame.
And I'm hopeful that you'll be able to do it sooner than 5 years as well. I appreciate that. And since I have you, Director Pareto, has Customs and Quarantine considered the personal equipment needed for the new facility, and what steps have you been taken to identify the funding for the additional resources?
Well, part of the plan is after the conceptual design, we also have a committee that is looking into the equipment that's needed for this particular facility. I also like to just mention, as what Senator Therese and Senator Brown has mentioned, that we are very concerned with making sure that we collaborate with our partners, especially the Department of Agriculture, as it relates to biosecurity, and they are a part of this committee that are putting together the final plan for addressing the needs of what's going to be in the inspection facility, and so they are a part of that.
Okay, that's good to hear, Director Pareto, and I'm sure that in incorporating this structure, that you will also have in place a maintenance program to maintain the facility. As you've seen, many of the schools that we've built, there was never a maintenance plan, and you've seen many facilities just after brand new, falling to rubble after like 3 years because of the lack of maintenance. So please, Director Pareto, consider that, as you work toward this new facility, that a maintenance program will be put in place as well. Thank you so much.
Duly
Yeah,
noted. That's very important. The maintenance
Okay.
plans is also should be a part of the committee's concern on that. Thank you.
Okay, greatly appreciate it, and looking forward to doing a inspection of the port as we talked about earlier. So we will contact you shortly. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Teichig. Senator San Augustine, did you have any questions for this panel? All right, and if not, I'm going to go back to the sponsor, Senator Moylan, if you would like to make a closing statement on this bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, directors and my colleagues, and for the discussion on this bill. Obviously, it was basically said by each one of you, the importance of this and moving it forward. I do like to also add, based on a few of the questions there is a bill also proposed for a build lease transfer, similar to what we see how JFK was successfully built with a maintenance plan included, as also a possibility of funding source. That's bill number 5936, hoping for a public hearing on that. But otherwise, Madam Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, and I thank the panel as well. And I'm looking forward for this to move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you again to the general manager, the director and chief, Paris, for your testimony, for movement on this project, and to the sponsors for the bill. So there being no additional individuals to testify, we will consider Bill 58-36 COR duly heard, and we will move on to the next agenda item. So you are excused if you were here for this bill. Those who are here for bill number 62-36, which is relative to the penalties for theft of livestock or agricultural products, that's the next item on our agenda. And I apologize, we're running a little late. We had some technical issues, and we are going to get to bill 36 later. And I'm estimating that we are not going to make it to bill 36 before 10:30. So if you are here for bill 36, you can come back on at 10:30, or you can continue to listen. And but we have quite a few people signed up to testify on the bill before us right now, which is 62-36. So I just wanted to give you some heads up on that. All right, and my apologies. Okay, so without further ado, I will allow the sponsor of the bill, Senator Rigel, to introduce the bill. And if you could please read the full title. We haven't done that yet.
Sure thing. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and my colleagues for the opportunity to make my opening statement on Bill 62-36, an act to amend subsection 43.10D and 43.70, both of Chapter 43, Title 9, Guam Code Annotated, relative to penalties and restitution for theft of livestock or agricultural products. I also want to thank the farmers and the Department of Agriculture and everyone who's come out to testify this morning. This bill was introduced in an effort to bring all the stakeholders together to fix an issue that has been long-standing, and that's how to help protect farmers from agricultural theft. Our farmers work hard every single day to literally put food on the tables of the people of Guam. This is their livelihood that is being taken from them. Stealing the crops that farmers invest hours of time, money, and effort into should not be a crime that goes unpunished. Not only should this crime be prevented, but we must ensure that the farmers have their crops either returned or that the farmers be compensated for this type of loss from those responsible. The genesis of this bill is really after hearing a lot of stories from farmers about stolen livestock and stolen crops in particular. I've heard stories of farmers being forced to find ways to sort of brand their produce and market somehow in the hopes of finding it being sold later and catching the thieves. I've heard of farmers staking out their farms overnight to try to catch the thieves red-handed. Farmers shouldn't have to go through this. One of the things that I also heard was that they had a hard time with sort of getting any real enforcement of this theft. And one of the things that I heard was that perhaps the law wasn't clear enough. Now, I know there's some debate over whether or not the law is clear enough. So I wanted to end all debate and make sure that it is absolutely clear. So the bill amends Section 2, 4310 of Chapter 43, Title 9 on D. It's the definition of property. Now, in this definition, it does say that property means anything of value. And so most people say, well, that should include crops. and I believe it should as well. But if you read the rest of this Part D, it goes on to list specific items. And I think that may be where some of the confusion lies. Because it lists specific items, it lists real estate, tangible and intangible personal property, contract rights, goes on to even list transportation tickets. And then it says captured or domestic animals, food and drink, electric or other power, trade secrets, but it makes no mention of agricultural product. So I think that's where there's some confusion, because it specifically mentions livestock or domestic animals, but it doesn't specifically mention agricultural products. So my bill makes it clear that it would mention that property includes agricultural product, which includes floriculture, horticulture, viticulture, aquaculture, forestry products and commodities, and other farm or plantation products or commodities grown or raised by a bona fide farmer. The other thing that this bill does, it also includes, there is a section that requires reimbursement to the owners of stolen livestock, but it omits agricultural product. So my bill seeks to include agricultural product in that section of code, so that it wouldn't just require that stolen livestock be that those owners of stolen livestock be reimbursed by the defendants or those found guilty of stealing livestock, but it also requires that anyone found guilty of stealing agricultural product reimburse the owner of that product. Forgive me, I failed to mention a thank you to my co-sponsor of the measure, Vice Speaker Senator Tina Rose Munoz-Barnes. She would like to express her sorrow that she's not able to participate today. She told me that she did have a conflict in her schedule, but she would like everyone present to know that she supports the bill and she supports the farmers, and she apologizes that she's not able to be here today. With that will conclude my opening statement. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator Rangel. I'd like to recognize the presence of Senators Joanne Brown, Senator Chris Duenas, Senator Terlaje, Senator James Moylan, Senator Joe San Augustine, and of course yourself, Senator Clint Rangel. We will continue now with the testimony. And so just for an overview, we've got representatives from the Department of Agriculture. We've got representatives from the Soil and Water districts, and we've got several farmers, and we also have a representative from the University of Guam. So we will begin with the Director of Agriculture, Chelsea Winifred. You're right. Sorry, you're still on mute. If you could unmute and state your name again for the record.
This technology thing, tricky. Hafide Speaker Terlaje and committee members, thank you for providing us with the opportunity to provide testimony for Bill number 62-36. For all time and throughout history, farmers have always been our lifeline. They provide the essentials humanity needs, which is survivability through food. They toil in the sun to provide us with some of our most fundamental needs. For many years, they have been pleading for help to protect their livelihoods. When the literal fruits and vegetables of their labor are stolen, the loss of revenue can amount to thousands and even tens of thousands of dollars. Oftentimes, that is their entire income for a season, which means they lose all the money they would have made to cover their living expenses for the next several months up to half a year. In the case of subsistence farmers, they lose the ability to feed themselves and their families. Their very lives are threatened. I don't say this blithely. If you are growing food for your family and to sell crops to make money to feed your family, what do you do when the very food is stolen? What alternative sources of income do you have? And what food do you have to feed your family when your food or livestock are stolen? Farmers have pleaded for help to catch and punish criminals who commit these crimes against them. It is a crime in itself that currently there are so few mechanisms in place for them to seek damages and restitution when theft occurs. Property is defined as anything of value, but our disregard for the value of agricultural commodities has only hurt our farmers. The agricultural products that our farmers produce certainly hold value, not just in dollars, but in the labor and the love that our farmers put into their crops and the nutrition that is provided to the community. But it's the monetary value that requires this legislative intervention and support. As we look toward building a more sustainable and food secure economy, we must encourage more agricultural industry. With the current condition of having little to no recourse for the theft of agricultural products, it will be challenging to encourage growth in the industry. Lastly, fighting climate change is one of the biggest concerns for all of us right now, and locally grown produce and other agricultural products can have an almost negligible carbon footprint. Locally grown produce made available to our wider community reduces our needs for imported goods. Protecting our farmers extends to protecting our natural environment. And thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to your support of the passage of this bill.
Thank you, Director. There was also a John Borja, ADS Chief from the Department of Ag. Will he also be testifying, or?
Right here.
Okay, Mr. Borja, you're right.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, committee, for having given me this opportunity to testify. I would just like to share historical information which I experienced and also witnessed in light of the rampant theft of produce, livestock, equipment, and even down to seeds at farms. It's not only the personal items, but also what my director had mentioned earlier, the life of the farmer, the family, to survive. Already, it's very hard right now to compete in this COVID epidemic arena because the market is very limited. And let to be known that these produce are being produced at a high 25% of production costs and stuff. And there's nothing coming back when the produce or any kind of farm products are stolen. So I've witnessed where I basically saw theft on the farm in the wee mornings, and I reported them to the farmers. And nothing has much been done because there was nothing to have to compensate the farmers back for one thing, but to also have some kind of legal action taken. There was no defined parameters for the law to engage criminal activity in regards to that. Just to share one other thing is that some farmers are very, very disappointed, and they're not even planning to continue their farming operation. So how are we going to encourage new farmers to do something that our old farmers are pretty much are engaged with hardships of trying to maintain the farm, increase their livelihood, or to even sustain their operations? It's very, it's very detrimental to farming operations now because we have competition from other, from imports and also from other farmers that are basically marketing competition out there right now. So that's what I have to share with the committee, Madam Speaker. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Chief Borja. I would now recognize, we have with us, may I first recognize Senator Amanda Shelton, our Legislative Secretary. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm sorry I didn't mention you earlier, recognize you earlier. All right, and now we will also recognize former Senator Hope Cristobal, who is the chairperson of the Northern District Guam Soil and Water Conservation District. Senator Hope, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, and our esteemed senators, to you, Senator Rigel, thank you so much for paying attention to the farmers. As you can see, there are a lot of us out here who are very interested in finding a way to recoup the loss from theft of agricultural products. I see that Ernie Wistick is here. He's my pari and a good friend. And I've watched him toil and labor. I visited his farm. My goodness, this is his sole source of income. And to see someone come and just overnight in a few hours harvest his crop that he has been waiting to harvest himself, it really just blows my mind, because here we are with the G3 plan in place, but not really addressing the issue of this theft, this idea of perhaps really getting to the point of establishing the third leg in our economy, perhaps in the agriculture area. And I hear Director Chelsea Muñoz Brecht and her eloquent response to this bill. And I've watched our other farmers labor and toil, and I visited many farms Some of us are at a point of no return. We are aging. We are an aging group. I believe the average farmer today is over 60 years old. And, you know, it is very disheartening, because what this does is it really affects our hopes of trying to bring to farming our younger generation. The University of Guam, through Dr. Aries, for example, has embarked on a program of training and developing beginning farmers and beginning ranchers. And so we all, the whole entire community of the agricultural community is watching this bill to see how we can take care of this problem. We are not unique. The whole United States has this problem. Hawaii has this problem, and Hawaii has a similar piece of legislation on how to resolve this issue. It is also known that the GPD has criminalizes the stealing of agricultural products. So we know that there are other areas in the books, in the laws, that prevent this thing from happening. I think we need to strengthen the bill, but I really don't know how. I just feel like this is not new. Guam has been suffering this epidemic of theft of property, theft of everything, especially this past year, where people are feeling the sting of lack of income. So it talks about the larger picture here of our whole entire economy, but honing into the agricultural area, we really need to pay attention to this sector of our community that is really, in my own estimation, an aging community, of which perhaps the younger, stronger people have the mental capacity to plan ahead and go and harvest of, someone's crops. So I'm here to support Senator Rigel's bill, and I'm hoping that somehow we find a way to strengthen it. I know that all these mandates to determine how much should be paid and telling the courts what to do really is the decision of the judge and the decision of the courts. But it appears to me that I believe in Hawaii, what they have done is they have assured people that any agricultural product that is sold must be sold by someone who is also a bona fide farmer, but also who has the records of where the produce came from, who sold it to them in order to resell it. And so I think it behooves us to find a way to implement that anything that is sold must have some kind of a way to trace where the agricultural product came from. So you are assured that it's truly a product that the farmer himself or a farmer is reselling to another farmer or the roadside markets, for example. They must be able to testify that they have received the product and that it truly came from a bona fide farmer who sold it to them. And so that basically is my testimony. I sent Ms. Speaker, to determine the value of a product. I appreciate what Mr. Borja has stated and what Director Muñoz has stated, that it's pretty difficult if you don't factor in all the indirect costs, including the water that it takes to water those corn seeds, including the nutrients that you need to put in the soil to get the best agricultural produce so that you're feeding the community and not just producing a piece of, an ear of corn, but you're producing corn that provides nutrition to the community. So it's a much bigger picture, and I hope that there's a little bit more research that is put into this bill so that it can have the kind of effect that all of us farmers are hoping that you, our senators, our policymakers, will be taking care of us as we continue to try to entice the younger generation to come forward and begin farming and to really get involved with land trust, agricultural leases, so that, you know, that really is truly what people are doing out there, rather than, you know, planting other than agricultural products. So thank you for the opportunity to speak and to support my fellow farmers. I am Hope Cristobal. I'm from Tamuning. I do chair the Northern Guam Soil and Water Conservation District Board, and we do pay attention, and we do try to make it a little bit better for our farmers. We this virtual meetings are important, but honestly, the looking forward to the face-to-face public hearings so that you can feel and see the kinds of investment that our farmers have made. Sidus Masi again, all of you senators, thank you so much. Senator Rigel, we appreciate the intent and the words in your bill, but I think it needs to be strengthened somehow. Sidus Masi again, and good morning, and Manana Sidus.
Manana Sidus, Senator Hope. Thank you for that testimony. Senator Rigel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I may, and thank you for that, former Senator Hope Cristobal, for your testimony. If I can just add something, I agree with you 100%. You're mentioning about sort of requiring that people who buy produce buy it from a legitimate bona fide farmer. And so we actually have a companion piece of legislation that I've introduced that does exactly that. And I'd also like to thank Director Chelsea Munoz-Brecht from the Department of Agriculture for actually bringing that idea to my attention. It's actually Department of Agriculture's idea to require that bona fide farm, that anyone purchasing produce purchase it from a bona fide farmer. And that, I think, would help address this issue of theft, because from what I've heard from a lot of farmers and from the Department of Agriculture is that a lot of this produce is stolen so that it can go out and be sold, so they can get cash for it. So if we do that, that should help add a layer of prevention. And just for the record, I am hoping to have a public hearing on the bona fide farmer bill this month, possibly March 31st, if we're able to do it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Rigel. I also want to note for the record that the committee did invite the Guam Police Department and the Attorney General to present testimony, because I do think they play a significant role in this, what we're trying to do by this bill. We will follow up with them, but they are not here today. All right, so next we will move on to testimony from the Southern District of the Guam Soil and Water Conservation District Boards. Its chairwoman is Angelita Mendiola. We also have Michael Uggan and Erica Pangilinan, the administrators. So Chairperson Mendiola, you're recognized.
Southern is Mike Uggan. I'm the vice chair. And our administrative person will be presenting the testimony from our board. And then I will follow up with comments coming from the island farmers.
Okay, thank you. Can you confirm is the chairperson, Mike Uggan, present here today?
No, and that's why our administrator is going to present the board's testimony.
All right, we'll do it. Thank you again, Vice Chair Mendiola, for being here then.
And then I will continue.
All right, so is it Erica Pangilinan? You're recognized. Oh, there you are. All right.
Manana Sidus. Okay, buenas and hafadays, Speaker Therese Terlaje, and members of the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture. On behalf of the Southern Guam Soil and Water Conservation District, we appreciate the opportunity to submit a letter of testimony and comments in support of Bill 62-36 relative to the penalties and restitution for theft of livestock and agriculture products. As part of the Guam Soil and Water Conservation District's mandate, all registered bona fide farmers of Guam are part of our district members. We recognize farm theft robs our farmers of their financial well-being and heavily impacts their agricultural operations. It is a disincentive to our farmers as well as to those who aspire to become farmers and threatens the growth of agricultural production on our island. The inclusion for penalties and restitution of these criminal acts are needed. So therefore, we are in support of the passage of this bill. We like to thank you, Speaker Terlaje, the sponsors of the bill, Senator Rigel and Vice Speaker Munya Barnes, for introducing this much needed legislation for our farmers and for Guam. So, Cesar's Masi, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. I am Farmer Angie. My profession now is Farmer Angie. So anyway, what the Southern District did was we reached out to our Southern farmers to invite them to testify at this hearing. But because, for many reasons, they're not able to come, and some of them are not comfortable with virtual public hearing, and they're looking forward someday, like what Senator Hope Gustavo said, is that it is very important to have face-to-face, but because of the pandemic, we're not able to do that. So you can see the emotion that goes into the stealing of their produce after long, hard work. So what I'm gonna do is just to express to you the words that's coming off from the mouth of our island farmers, okay? So, like I said, it took at least almost an hour just talking to the different farmers because they go on and on and on of their sacrifices and all the things that are happening at the farm, but that was created by thieves, like the killing of their dogs, stealing of their crops, the stealing of their little lamsu, at the farm. But anyway, so I'm just presenting to you the words that's coming from the mouth of our Southern farmers. And number one here, Farmer from Agate, which was elaborated by Senator Hope Cristobal and Senator Clint Rigel, and I'm glad that he has a bill coming up regarding bona fide farming registry. So yes, this is what deter enablers with marketing of stolen agriculture products, such as the supermarkets, restaurants, roadside vendors, hotels, etc. But if we have the bona fide farmers registry, that will really help address that problem that this farmer from Agate expressed to me. And then another one, Section 4070, line 19 to 20, the reimbursement of stolen agriculture products at its fair market value. This farmer goes, that's just a slap on the hand. I think it should be multiplied times 5, because like what they expressed earlier, what it takes to grow that banana, the fertilizer, the water, the labor, and all that. So instead of just the fair market value, if something can be done, I don't know if it should be in the bill. And then maybe make it times 10 for second time offense. Okay, another farmer said it's a health and food safety concern. He said that the day that he applied pesticide on his beans, that evening they stole all his beans. So where does it end? Out in the market, and we consumers go and buy them, right? Not knowing that it's not safe because you need to wait so many days for after application of the pesticide to be able to sell it safely. So it affects our food safety also, because these people that are going out stealing, they don't know what was applied to that agriculture product before they take it to the market. And then this other farmer goes, stronger punishment penalty will help stop recidivism by putting more teeth in enforcement and prevention so that they don't repeat it, right? Then island-wide education outreach of the law by Department of Agriculture so that the community will know that this is happening and what will happen if they get involved with stealing agriculture produce. let me tell you, it took me like maybe 3 days just listening to the farmers. And even to the phone, it's hard to see, but they're just so emotional about it. And then one farmer goes, they should apply the castle doctrine law in Bill 6236. And she said she will want to be the one to just shoot the thieves if she catches, it's a woman farmer, catches them in the field. So they're just very emotional about this, and they would like to express their regrets that they cannot be at this virtual hearing. And they look forward for someday soon to do face-to-face. And they want to thank Senator Rigel for paying attention to this matter that really affects our farming industry. And also to thank Ernie Wistick for being the loud mouth that he is to bring this attention to the community. We want to thank him. He is one of our farmer heroes, but it affects the island industry, and Senator Hope Cristobal really expressed it very good. And I want to thank all of you for paying attention, because like Hope said, you know, our age group for the farmers are like in the 60s, and we're already aching here and there, and something has to be done to, the university is doing its best to try to bring in and train new farmers that are interested in this industry, which we really need on the island. Thank you, Speaker Therese Terlaje and the rest of the senators that have expressed or show interest in our agriculture industry. Thank you very much. Sizus Maasilas, Sizus Impambinendisi. Viva Lanceras and Viva Lanceros.
Viva. Masi. We will hear now from Liu Ching Ho, one of the farmers. Mr. Ho. All right, we will hear from Mr. Bill McDonald, William McDonald. Mr. McDonald.
Hello, Speaker. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Are you able to turn on your video?
I don't know how to do that.
Okay. Please proceed.
Can you do that for me, or do
Just, it's on the bottom. There you go. Oh, on the bottom of your screen. There you are. I saw you there. I can see you and I can hear you. So please proceed, Mr. McDonald.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Senator Rigel, for clarifying the proposed bill, which to include the agriculture, part of agriculture. Let me get into my comments, I guess, or opinion, recommendation. I would like to propose that the enforcement of this bill to be taken out of GPD and transferred over to the Department of Agriculture Conservation section for their experience in agriculture and under direction of the Department of Agriculture, and let the process, included in the bill, the process of anybody call it stealing agriculture, produce and livestock, and like I said, aquaculture, confiscate the materials, equipment to use to steal and transport these the stolen items, just like the fishing industry, the illegal fishing. And we have a law that in the recycling business, where we take our recycled metals to a vendor or to a processing plant, to have the responsibility, like on the side vendors, roadside vendors, make sure they know where the produce is coming from, identify, and remember that we do have a law that in order to sell to the public any produce, you have to have a core requirement certification from EPA. That's our current law right now. So all these vendors need to know and register that core number so that we can trace where the produce is coming from. And then put fines whoever is found with that produce, especially the sellers. And Department of, once the produce leaves the farm, EPA's responsibility for biosecurity, pesticide control and all that stops. And then public health comes in, okay, and takes over on the products being sold, which they call on the shelf. So let them have a responsibility on this bill. Include public health for their inspection. We need this, we need a team right now to put some teeth into this bill. The way it is right now with GPD alone is not cutting it. We need to enforce, to engage Department of Ag and the process that they go through. The committee, the analysis.
Bananas is Mr. McDonald, sharing your testimony. We'll hear now from Mr. Westlick. Mr. Wustig, are you able to unmute on the bottom left corner? There you go. All right, Mr. Wustig, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am in support of this bill, but it needs a team to make it work. It's how can we deter theft? This does not address deterring theft. In order for the theft to quit, you gotta have a stricter law, like a mandatory, maybe 5 years, 10 years imprisonment with hard labor. You know, so they'll know what it's like to work out there in the field. Just yesterday, I was told by an agriculture distributor that the fertilizer is going to go up 25% increase. So it is not just the hard work, it is the cost of doing business. And it's not helping. So we got to create a law that's got a stiffer penalty. You've got to have you've got to have a deterrence. Because, you know, having all of this, where you buy, where you sell, that doesn't deter the theft. We got to deter the theft. Like I said, if we can make a law that maybe 5 years imprisonment, 5 years for theft, then it will probably stop the theft. And this is not just the first time that they stole my corn. It is not just the first time. It seems like every time I'm going to harvest, somebody is waiting to harvest also. So now I have to stay up all night and then work all day. So we're gonna have we gotta find a deterrent for the theft, not just policies and so forth. We gotta get down to the core to where the theft will think twice before they do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wostick. Mr. Benny Nicholas. Mr. Benny Nicholas, are you here? If not, we will hear from Mr. Pete Marcinez from the University of Guam Cooperative Extension and Outreach. Mr. Marcinez.
Hafaday. Good morning, Madam Speaker, members of the committee. Thank you for inviting us to participate in providing some testimony on behalf of the University of Guam Cooperative Extension Service. We are in support of the bill. I've provided written testimony, and what I'd like to do is summarize some of those points in my written testimony. I think one of the opportunities for us as an industry and the work in government that supports ag development is to focus on official information, official data sources. And I think one of the work areas that the university has been participating in the last several years is in the area of conducting the agricultural census. And I think that vehicle to update how we report data on ag development is a crucial first step to recognize how we can tailor the U.S. Department of Agriculture's way of quantifying ag development needs to be further localized to reflect our current issues and needs, and in particular how we quantify ag losses in terms of theft. In the past, the ag census data has been used only for claiming typhoon damages or other calamities that impact a farmer or a farm operation. So I think this is an opportunity where the partners overseeing census work, which includes the university and the Guam Department of Agriculture, belongs to this oversight in terms of the key players, because we're closer to the requirements of different mandates that addresses who is a bona fide farmer. And I think the most recent ag census puts ag production at about $3.8 million for the most current reporting period. And I think that's a far cry from an underestimation of really what's out there. So I think there's an opportunity to revisit the claim of producing $1,000 or more of ag commodities, or normally that would be sold to someone. I think this is a facet of the reporting that could be addressed, and we are in the process of preparing for the next ag census. And once that opportunity to review the upcoming plans, I think we will include this discussion with our federal partners. The other area that I included in my written testimony is the issue of revisiting how we report who is a bona fide farmer. Where do they register? And I think there are many angles of addressing this. And I think the University Cooperative Extension is in a position to sponsor those dialogue and conversation on what's best for for farmers while trying to get to quality data about how farmers register and how their production is actually tracked in terms of just ag reporting. There are some sensitivities on registration, and I think these are things that we could address in those discussions on what type of information and what's the best way to sponsor that. The other area that I wanted to highlight is, again, the emphasis on ag big data, our version of using data analytics to report what is important to both the government, stakeholders in the ag sector, and also the overall consumers that consume ag commodities. I think this is an opportunity for us to capture data that really is valuable to farmers in terms of imported commodities. What is the demand for certain commodities that could be grown on Guam? These are examples of conversations that could add to this area of need, where if we're trying to capture and quantify ag losses, we also want to capture the opportunity and the threats that come with those issues. With big data, there's also an opportunity to look at digital technology, how technology could be applied in the right way to monitor production, ag production, and how that's reported to the entities that have oversight in those areas. I think in the earlier comment by Ms. Mendiola, the concern about food safety is a very important issue. And I think the risks associated with how such foods enter the food system creates other challenges for not just the consumers, but also legal issues for the ag system pushing products that are not captured. So on behalf of our colleagues at the university that support all the farmers and the farm programs that support ag development, we are available to continue the dialogue and work closely with the sponsors of the bill and with the committee. Sijus Masi.
Jesus Masi, Mr. Barcinas. I'll now recognize Mr. Sinicolas. Benny Sinicolas. Okay, we'll come back to Mr. Sinicolas. We'll go to Katerina Regis. All right. I'm going to open it up for the panel now, beginning with the sponsor of the bill, Senator Ridgell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do just have one question, and I guess it would be for anyone who's able to answer. I'm not sure if maybe a farmer has something they can answer about. Maybe if you can provide us with some information about specifically instances where you've had theft and you reported it to the authorities, and sort of what was the response from the authorities? Was it GPD? What was their response? And was there any indication of what they said they could do about it, about the theft?
Mr. Westick, would you like to answer that question? Yes, please unmute yourself on the bottom left again.
Yeah, I received a phone call from Sergeant Tapao, and they wanted to help so that they can have it on TV and stuff like that. But I received a phone call from a lady in Ordo, and I forgot her name. I didn't write down her name. She told me that there was somebody trying to sell her corn from Ordo, the white pickup, an older American pickup. And I asked her, how does this man look like? Oh my God, he looks terrible. He looks terrible. So I don't know what that terrible means, but might be on drugs. So, you know, there is a leak on a white pickup, an older white pickup, selling corn in order. And there's a lot of corn in the back of the pickup, a lot, like a half a pickup load. So from there, hopefully somebody's watching this again, see who else, maybe they notice the license plate, or they know the person's name, so they can come forward. Thank you.
Mr. Wistig, in the past, you've had corn stolen before in the past, right? Or produce stolen in the past?
Yes.
And what I wanted to know is, what has your experience been over the years when you contact GPD or whoever about the theft?
Oh, they came out, they write down when it happened and stuff like that, but that was it. So I think I agree with Mr. McDonald that this responsibility of agriculture theft should go to the game wardens, like they do in the state. The game warden goes out and drive around the farms at night, and hopefully they'll catch a theft. Like going out trying to catch poachers. So if they would allow the game warden to do this, maybe it would deter some thefts. Because the GPD's got a lot of work to do, not just with thefts.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Vidal. I'd like to recognize the presence of Senator Sabina Perez, my vice chair, who has joined us. But I will now recognize Senator Dueñas for any questions for this panel.
Jesus Masi, Madam Speaker, no questions, just a very brief comment. I want to thank all the farmers that have come out today, and I look forward to the development of this very important bill going forward. I want to agree with Farmer Ernie Wistig that I think Mr. McDonald is on to something here, that it's the conservation officers that might have more penetration on this issue, and maybe if they beef up that division, more time to put into it. So I look forward to the development of the bill. Also to the farmers, the other thieves that steal your crops, invasive species. I will be talking to the director on updates on what's going on with the Invasive Species Council to make sure that we can continue to try to help you in that prevention area as well. But just those short comments. But my takeaway from this is I really think that we'll work with the author to see if there's a broader law enforcement capability. And thank you, farmers, for all that you do for our people. Jesus Masi.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Saitzigui.
Sijus Masi, Madam Speaker, and I thank you to all those who are here testifying this morning in support of this legislation, which I stand in full support of. I wish the Attorney General of Guam was here. I know it was invited by the good speaker, but there are many questions that I have to ensure that this legislation does have the teeth it needs, or that legislation is correct with regards to the way it's spelled out in the law. So, we're going to work very closely with the Attorney General's office to ensure that if any individual is caught stealing produce or products from farmers, that they are prosecuted to the fullest extent possible. And, I come from a family of farmers, with the Taidiwis and Talafofo. And I know the hard work and sweat and tears that they put into the work they do. And it's not an easy job. This occupation is probably the hardest type of occupation a person can have. So it definitely needs our full attention. And I ask that the Department of Agriculture to find ways, task force, to find ways to assist these farmers in deterring anybody from coming to steal it, because that's where it boils down to. We want to stop it before it even happens, and any kind of deterrence. And I know that some farmers in Arahan actually use cameras. their bananas were being stolen, and they finally decided to put up some cameras in the area to see if they can catch the individuals, the criminals, from doing this. So I hope that the Department of Agriculture take this very seriously and creates a task force to do so. I do have a question with regards to, well, I guess she's not here, Angelita Mendiola, but maybe I can ask Senator Hope Castrobel, if you might answer this, or anybody else. Do you know of any insurance companies that provide any form of farm insurance locally?
I believe the Farmers Services Agency under USDA provides some form of insurance for the specific crop that is covered under particular grants under USDA, but I'm not sure because I'm uninsured. I'm a small farmer, and I'm not insured. So I just bank on good weather and a lot of hard work in order to be able to sell my produce. Thank you, Senator, for asking that question.
Yeah, I think we need to, oh, go ahead, Mr. Wistik, please. You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Wistik. Okay.
I am the Farm Service FSA, the Farm Service Agency Chairman for the island of Guam under the USDA. There are insurance, crop insurance, but not for theft. There's no insurance for theft. That I know.
Okay.
So
hopefully we can look into that, to try and find some way of insuring. I mean, this is a product. I mean, people who manufacture any kind of goods, I mean, they get insurance. So
unless for this bill to work, unless Governor Guam wants to put up the theft amount, if there's compensation, if there's a compensation for typhoon, there should be compensation for theft. And then if there's a compensation for theft, then everybody will be looking out for the theft so that the government, the people of Guam would not pay for it. If the people of Guam is paying for this theft, then everybody will be watching everybody. So,
well, it definitely needs, yeah, thank you so much. And you're right. And I think it leads to something that we can take away from this public hearing on another area that we can look into in protecting our farmers and all the hard work they do. So again, Department of Agriculture could take the lead on this and gladly open my door for any assistance. I have actually an insurance background. So if you want, please feel free to contact me, Senator Hope. I know this would be a great opportunity as well to look at some legislation or in visiting the insurance companies to provide this. Even if it's not here, we can maybe get it from off island as well. But thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity, and look forward to supporting this bill and making this a stronger bill by the corporation of any recommendations by the Attorney General so that it does stand strong. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Taitagui. And I'd like to recognize the presence of the Vice Speaker, Tina Munoz-Barnes. And I want to try right now, colleagues, to get to Mr. Benny San Nicolas. Mr. San Nicolas, can you try one more time your audio, the mute? There you go. If you can unmute yourself on the bottom left. Still can't hear you, Mr. San Nicolas. If you can press the mute. Oh, one more time. Press it. There you go. There you go.
Okay. I'm sorry, I do not have internet connection as of now. I've been on this for over an hour now, but I'm using my cell phone. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, good. Yes, I'd like to thank you, Senator, and all the senators, especially Senator Rajal, for introducing this bill. 62-36. I really appreciate this. I am in support of this bill with some recommendation. And one of them is I believe that maybe the value of the product plus some kind of interest, recurring interest until it's fully paid. And yes, I'm glad to hear that agricultural products and livestock are included and aquaculture. I am producing crops, bananas, and vegetables, and cows and carabaos and the aquaculture. And the thing I would like to request and add to help to strengthen this bill is some kind of classification of vendors. Maybe, especially in the flea market, vendors need to display that they are the producer of their products that they're selling, or whatever product they're selling, or their buyer and seller, so that people that are going to the flea market will know for sure that it is coming directly from the producer. And also they'll know if they had bought this product and are reselling it. So that's the recommendation that I would like to make. And also, I believe that Senator Clint Rangel mentioned that he is also addressing other issues with the agriculture program. One of the biggest issues that I believe that would help in strengthen the farmers of Guam would be, one is to establish a board of agriculture, agricultural board of directors.
Okay, I'm afraid, Mr. St. Nicholas.
And I have seen good people in there. I'm glad to see that John Borra is still there. He's a true friend to the farmers. I also see Joanne Brown in there as senator. I'm very pleased to see that she's back in as a senator, because Joanne Brown now is more informed about a farmer's issue, since she had worked with the Soil and Water Board for Guam. And I'm very pleased to see her back in the legislature. I believe that she will be more effective now in helping the farmers of Guam, because she has better understanding, I think, now for the farmers issue. And it's too bad that my internet is not here, because I would probably be able to see all of you through the video, but I do not have internet now. But that's the main thing, is to thank all the senators that are sponsoring and supporting this bill. And I'm looking for a favorable response to all of the senators. And I and I look forward to a favorable passage of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. St. Nicholas. I'm glad you were able to testify today. And as a reminder, all of today's hearing is being recorded. It will be broadcast on the YouTube, the Guam Legislature's YouTube channel. So you can always go back and watch it. And of course, get a hold of any of the senators if you want to submit additional testimony. All right, so yes. I've got several senators left also to ask questions on the panel. Senator Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I think it's a wonderful opportunity that we have today to be able to engage with our farmers, and I certainly support this bill. I think it's obviously been a long time in coming, and you know, as Mr. Wistick has mentioned, I mean, this is not the first time that he's had crops stolen. I know a number of farmers that have been doing this for many years have had to deal with this unfortunate situation. So I'm certainly supportive, and I appreciate the efforts of both Senator Rangel in sponsoring this bill and Senator Tina and working with agriculture to move this process forward. And I certainly look forward to the companion bill that will actually have a chain of custody, so to speak, in terms of the farmers that are producing. I hope at the time it'll also address, because some farmers I know have other individuals that purchase their crops from them and then they go and resell it on their behalf. And I'm sure there'll be a process put in place so that the legitimate parties that are involved in actually the production and sale of our agricultural goods on Guam can be accounted for, so that certainly the people that do the work are compensated for their work properly, and not have this situation that we've been seeing of unfortunate individuals in our community that go out nowadays and think stealing is pretty normal, and don't hesitate to take something that they have not put their effort into and put their sweat into and put their heart into. So I'm very supportive of the bill, and certainly look forward to this bill getting on the session floor and ultimately being passed into law. So thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to all the farmers and members of the Soil Water Conservation District. I had the good fortune of working with them for close to 4 years at the University of Guam, and brings back a lot of good memories. And thank you very much for being here today and providing your testimony to us on this issue. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator, Legislative Secretary, Senator Shelton.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you to the sponsors of the bill, and of course to all of our farmers and supporters who are here this morning to give testimony. I really appreciate the input, all of the suggestions that you've given to the bill today to help us strengthen it and to move forward with the legislative process. I think it's so important as we continue to have all of these conversations about food sustainability and our island's ability to provide for ourselves, how we have this renewed appreciation for all of our farmers and the work that you're doing. And so it's been very disheartening to see the stories of Mr. Wustig, you in the newspaper, your farm being stolen from, and of course the other stories we hear. And I wanted to ask you, Director Munyabrak, if you can share with us, I'm sure these incidents are reported to the Guam Police Department. Perhaps they're also reported to you at the Department of Agriculture. How often these incidents are happening? If you can give us a little background.
Sure. I would actually defer to John Borja. He has as the chief of the Agricultural Development Services section, he is often in direct communications with the farmers, and I know they call him at any given time of day or night when they have an issue like that. He had one with him today who was willing to testify, but then had to leave back to their farm. John, Senator Shelton's question is, how often are different thefts reported to you?
As soon as they either see me or can be able to call me. And that's what it is, because I tell them also to keep track and take note of the incident's time and circumstances. So this could be a reportable thing for the police, or a nature of creating history. So we can see whether or not it's a trend. And it's only certain times of the month or the year that is happening for certain crops. That's where I take mental note of it, and I also go and see the site. So I can also help the farmers to try to figure out why or how they're coming in to steal. And there's a lot of techniques that's happening out there that the farmers may not be aware. But some of the theft happening on the farms is actually done by people that know about the farm. And basically, like for example, the dogs, the security that they have, they befriend the dogs. So those are the stuff that I can report. They can report to me, so I can get a full representation as to the occurrences and how often, time of night, mostly nighttime or early morning, and the farmer is still at home. So those are the times and periods that it's occurring most of the time. So yes, I do get mental note, as well as I write down parts of the events that they do report to me.
Thank you very much, Chief Borja, for your answer. And I know you mentioned that these thefts are obviously seasonal when the crops are in growing, but is there an average, maybe monthly, of incidents that are reported to you?
I can tabulate that, and it's like 3 times a week. I will hear somebody telling me that they robbed the place. So when the seasonal crop are watermelons. When the watermelons are in peak period for harvest, there's vandalism. And it's not only for the market, but also vandalism between growers. They will try to outdo the other person not to have the crop in the market, so they'll do some vandalism. And I even got note of that. So those are things that I'm hearing, and I would like to have it resolved in regards to some kind of criminal penalties or whatnot, to not really be so hard-funded for people that we need for food, that's stealing, but to also put something that is a crime to take without asking or provided permission to take the produce.
Thank you very much for that, Chief
You're welcome.
Borja, and thank you also, Director, for that answer. I appreciate it. I'm actually a little shocked to hear of how often it is happening. So I see the urgency for this bill and how we should move forward right away to ensure that we can put a stop to this, to deter any crimes against our farmers and those who are providing food for our community. So Seduas Masti, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Legislative Secretary Shelton. Senator San Augustine. All right, Senator Paris, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, Madam Chair, and thank you to all that have joined us here today. I'm very appreciative of all the comments, especially the part about fair market value not being enough. I mean, all the energy and time it takes to grow something and to have produce at the very end, only to see it being stolen. And I truly, feel that wrong needs to be corrected. And so I do appreciate this bill and I'm supportive of this policy. It's also interesting to see the part where there is alternative community service. That was a similar thing that was part of a previous bill that was passed into law last term regarding wildfires. And so I believe this is part of restorative justice, and I'm not sure if everybody who's coming today has actually seen the bill regarding that section of the bill. But what it would do is that if a person cannot pay, that they would have to give back in service for
not over yet, though. They're asking questions.
Yeah, so I guess this question is for, anybody here, the farmers, maybe specifically. How would you envision this being implemented? Should somebody not have the resources to pay back financially, but can pay back in sweat equity? So I guess maybe Farmer Westick or anybody else.
I'd like to chime in, Senator Paris. I think earlier, before you arrived, there was some suggestion to, maybe not these words, but to pattern this bill after the illegal taking of fish, so that Mr. McDonald mentioned the confiscation of the property or equipment that is being used. I think that would be a great deterrent. The car that is the getaway car, confiscation of the vehicle that is being used. I think that's a big penalty. But in terms of sweat equity, I don't know whether people who are thieving or who live, with taking of another's property, gosh, that's the most basic commandment, do not steal. So how do we address that? I think, like I've stated earlier, it's a big, broader concern, community concern. I think the application of the penalties have to consider this broader economic situation that we are in, at the broadest, perhaps at our level of the farmers. Let the farmer become involved. But really, I'm at my wit's end on how to resolve the issue. And I stated that, at the outset, that it's very difficult because times are hard. And like this past year, the situation that we are in with all the restrictions, apparently, it has created some food insecurity for some people. So when you're stealing food, that to me strikes as really telling of the economic situation that we're in. So I think, I'm sorry, I don't have any direct response or suggestions for answers, but I think the confiscation of whatever tools, equipment, throw the books at these thieves so that they learn their lesson. You know, we can strengthen the law by, as Senator Brown has stated, a chain of custody of the, of the produce or the produce that are being marketed. The stores, for example, I know Payless test a lot of these produce coming into the market. They test for the pesticides. So, but in spite of that, I make it a practice to say, for example, with cucumbers, I do not eat the skin. I skin it off because I'm so afraid of repeating a history of, ailments that we get from eating produce that is contaminated. And gosh, I like the idea of having Benny St. Nicholas's idea of having some kind of board or commission. I don't know to what extent that would be effective, but I think everything should be considered. I really think the bill needs to be strengthened in a way, and you folks have the research capacity. Please use that. You have the legal arm, you can reach out and get better application of this issue, because the situation is pretty bad. When you have 3 thefts a week, that's indication of the situation of our people out here, our grassroots, they're suffering. We're all suffering. The farmer is suffering, but there are people of lesser means that's out there, and I don't know what restorative justice would do for someone stealing food to eat. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I just like to chime in too. I just want to
Angelita Mandela, yes, you're right.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask Senator Clint Rizal to really look into the possibility of implement or incorporating it into a law or something to in support of Bill McDonald's recommendation, which was elaborated by Farmer Ernie Wistick and Farmer Hope Cristobal, that maybe place it with the Department of Agriculture, have a warden, just like what we have with the Fish and Wildlife, the confiscation, like what Hope had elaborated. And I think that will be a good way to deter these thieves. That is really, really good. And I want to commend Bill McDonald for bringing that idea up. And I hope, if you're really worried about the pesticides and other ways to soak your veggies and fruits in baking soda mix with water, just to add that information to everybody that's listening. But that's a good way to just soak it overnight, and that will help rid of the pesticide. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right, Senator Perez, you still have the floor.
I actually am done, but I think Director Munia Breck had her hand up. I think she wanted to respond as well, if that's okay.
Of course, Director.
Thank you, Speaker Terlaje and Senator Perez. I just wanted to say to Senator Hope that restorative justice was part of why we worked with the senator to also include the community service or the labor, because we considered that some of the people who may be stealing the crops, I think some of them do it for the money because it was happening before the pandemic hit. They did it because they saw the value in the crops. But those who do also steal oftentimes are not as financially fortunate or well off. And we considered that if we confiscate their vehicles or their properties, what we find when we arrest the poachers is that oftentimes those property will sit like here in inventory or locked up in inventory until the hearing comes. And then if there is a hearing, if the case is even adjudicated, the vehicles get returned to them. If they can write a statement as to financial hardships that they'll incur if their vehicles are seized or taken away. So then we worry that farmers may end up with no compensation. And so we try to strike a balance with having like restitution penalties, but also if they're unable to pay that, or if they say that they can't, then they have to pay back that in service somehow, either to the farmer if the farmer chooses to allow them to do that, or then to the community through community service somewhere. Because I can understand a farmer not wanting someone near their property if that person stole from them. But at the same time, we thought maybe if that person actually worked the farm, they would understand what effort and work and labor that they put into growing crops. But just like you, it's difficult. We're at a loss trying to figure out a solution that will sufficiently compensate farmers for everything that they go through.
Thank you very much, Director. I apologize that we are running short of time, but I would like to hear from Mr. Wustick. I know you had your hand up, and then we still have the Vice Speaker to ask questions of the panel. So, Mr. Wustick, but you may.
I'd just like to make a comment that this idea about having the game warden going out and inspecting the farms, and this idea came from Mike Algon, the president of the Guam Farmers Co-op. That was his idea, and I just like to recognize it that it's coming from him, and also. Senator Perez, you were asking about, what were you asking for?
Just about the part in the bill about restorative justice. How would that work with you as a farmer, if that's something, if it was implemented?
Restorative justice.
Yeah, so basically, instead of payment of money, they would pay back in labor, perhaps.
Well, yeah, labor. But I don't want that thief to work on my farm, because then he'll know what's going on, then he'll steal again. Mm. So maybe community service, and then Governor Guam will take it off from, and then compensate the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr.
Know what I'm
Wustick.
talking about? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Wustick. I'm going to recognize the Vice Speaker, Tina Munoz, also a co-sponsor of the bill.
Tidus Masi, Speaker Terlaje, for giving me the opportunity just to comment on this, and thank the main sponsor, Senator Rigel, for literally heeding to my request to work closely with him and the farmers, because we want to tell the farmers we are listening, and we will definitely follow through and implement the concerns that they have. When we talk about restorative justice and what was planned, we realized that the concerns of those who were taking for survival versus those that were taking just to try and make money out of the crops that the farmers worked hard to grow and then to harvest. And I realized that the farmers worked really, really hard, but how do you strike that balance, and how do we work that? So community service on one hand was to pay back through sweat equity and give back if they couldn't pay for restitution, which has been utilized with the court systems for many decades. I respect and understand the value of what Farmer Wistick was saying. Like, I don't want one who's taken from me to come and work on my farm, because he'll know that is happening. And those of you that may laugh, that I farm and harvest peppers for many years, and again, having a farm with my children and my best friend, it's not easy. Everything is very expensive, especially now. The question I wanted to ask the farmers was based on what is existing today and the sweat equity that was provided. Is there anything else that can be put in based on what is existing in law today? Is there anything else that you want to say to punish that those who have taken, because Director Brett did bring up that several of the cases, yes, still have those who are taking for livelihoods, but for the most part, there was a lot of them who were taking to resell. And 3 a week is bad. And we're on this chat. A lot of us policymakers are on the chat with the farmers, and we buy their produce. We work closely with them, and it is really, really hard. And they are really hurt that the hard work that they go through just gets literally taken from them. And I want to ask maybe Angie or Auntie Angie, and is there anything else? I didn't hear Bill McDonald's, but when Senator Clint did this as a middle playing ground, is it still too lenient for you guys to just have the sweat equity and not the restitution with it, or a combination of both? Sweat equity meaning the person who gets taken, that they would have to work, but it's where the government tells them whatever the program is with Department of Corrections after the adjudicated case, or with the court system that handles those that do not get incarcerated. And
I believe Senator Hope testified to that earlier. Senator Hope?
no, I was.
All right, you heard her testimony. Okay.
I think Angie wanted to respond. Ms. Mendiola wanted to respond.
Try the bottom left corner. On the bottom left corner, you will see a microphone button.
Senator Hope asked for taking away what was utilized or what they have that's tangible, but will they be satisfied with a combination of both?
There was testimony earlier by several of them that they want to see stiffer penalties. Ms. Mendiola, are you with us now? Please
Yes, can you hear me now? Yeah, they just modern technology. But anyway, yes, Vice Speaker Muna Barnes. Yeah, I think we heard all the testimony of asking to make the law more, put more teeth in the law. And one of the things that one of the farmer brought up to me was that, you know, like in the bill, it says to compensate the farmer at fair market value. And we're saying not just that, I mean, multiply that times 5 or something greater than just the one, you know, just the fair market value, but maybe multiply the fair market value times 5 to compensate the farmer for the stolen produce. But
Okay, so restitution and sweat equity is okay.
Yes, something like that. But I know that all the farmers that testified are asking for more, maybe more teeth, and I think it should be in our testimonies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just asking for that realization, hearing the comments from the previous farmers that maybe even a combination of both will work even to enforce the teeth of what is needed in this. Because if they can't pay through resources, then the hard work, the hard sweat equity somewhere could be, and having both together would be amenable to the farmers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Speaker. I'd like to recognize the presence of Senator Talina Nelson. Thank you, Senator, for joining us. Did you want to ask questions of the panel?
No, thank you, Speaker. I just want to thank all of our farmers here for coming out and giving testimony.
All right. Thank you. That concludes the testimony and the questions from the panel. I would now like to allow the sponsor, Senator Rigel, to close on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for affording me that opportunity. I promise to keep it brief, as I know that there's a lot more left on your agenda. I just wanted to take the opportunity to again thank the Department of Agriculture for working with me on this bill and actually bringing these ideas to me and working with me in developing this legislation. And also to all of the farmers, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules today to provide some testimony. And thank you for all the feedback. There's some very good feedback I think we received and some different ideas that I'm willing to look at. And I hope to work with my colleagues in strengthening the measure and finding any way we can improve the measure. And just perhaps some of the ideas may not be able to be addressed in this specific bill. They might require a separate piece of legislation. That's something that we'll have to look at and determine what's possible. But I just want to thank you all and assure you that I will do my best in finding solutions to this problem, and that this is not the only solution. It's going to take more than this. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Rangel. And again, thank you to all of you who are present. It has taken quite a while to get through all the testimony, but it just shows that this is a very important issue. We're going to treat it that way. And I assure you, we are going to work with the sponsor to do what is necessary to help you, all of you farmers, in your individual capacities, in your, taking care of your families, your income, and also for helping us to raise agriculture as a viable industry for Guam, as a sustainable and expanded way for us to take care of our entire island. Si todos más y todos, we consider the hearing for Bill 62-36 COR duly heard now, and the time is 11:30 a.m. So this public hearing is now adjourned. We will go offline for a few minutes because I have another public hearing that was supposed to begin at 10 a.m. We will begin that in 5 minutes while the audio resets. So thank you again, and take care. Si Dios más.